I want to build a queen-size bed for a friend using my plans, and I picked up most of the lumber from the Home Depot with my car. Now the plans actually call for a lot of 2x4s and even 2x3s, but I actually bought mostly 2x10s just because that way I got much better quality lumber. I'll start by making the side rails, and I want to use some of the nicest looking lumber for that because that's the most visible. And that side rail needs to be 7 inches wide. You heard that right, 7 inches. I'm actually using inches for this project. These big planer shavings sure fill up a dust collector fast. Now that I have the pieces planed, I can cut them to length. Now I need to glue on this rail here, and that'll later support the slats. Now for the legs, I need a whole bunch of pieces that are 2.5 inches wide, but I'll cut these to a little bit wider from here so I can trim them down later. Now I'm going to join the leg pieces together, and here's my long piece, and this goes here, and this goes here. These two boards are going to form the headboard with the posts on either side, like here and like here. And I want to give this a bit of a nice profile. So I modified the CAD model and printed out the template for this. And I'm just going to trace that through by outlining those lines with a carpenter's pencil. And that will leave a mark on the wood. For the mirror image, I'm tracing my pattern through the back. I'm just using a strip of wood to smooth out between the points that I traced through. Now I'm just going to round over the edges before I put the headboard together. So here's my glued headboard legs, and I could smooth the joints out with the hand plane, but I'll just do it on my jointer. Here's roughly what my headboard is going to go together like this. And in my plans I have this joined with dowels, but I'm going to use some floating tenons like these. They're sort of like really big festival dominoes, and that should be much better. I cut these from a strip of oak and rounded the corners on my roto table, and I've already joined the footboard with those, so now let's cut the joints for this one. I just worked out the spacing for the mortises, and for each one of those I marked on which side the mortise goes so I don't cut it on the wrong side. I'm going to cut the slots on my slot mortiser, which I haven't been using that much since I built the Panther rotor, but this machine does slot mortises really well. I just transferred all the mortise locations for the rails, so now I can also cut those on my slot mortiser. I'm gluing blocks of wood between the slats, and that'll keep them from sliding around. I'm cutting down the slats in thickness towards the ends a little bit, which will allow them to rest a bit lower in the frame, and also makes up for any differences in thickness in the scrap wood that I'm using. Before gluing it together, I'm rounding over all the exposed edges. Well, that took some fast action with the clamps and some hard pounding to get that joint fully closed. I guess that's certainly a problem you could avoid if you just use pocket holes. After that, I varnished all the pieces, but it was pretty boring, so I didn't take video of that. Headboards are almost always pushed against the wall, so I cut out this corner here for a baseboard and quarter round. Oh good, it fits.